Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Mark with Limo Marketer, and this week we're going to talk about how we should be following up with our clients. But what do I mean when I say follow up? Do I mean after the quote or before the quote? So there's two types of follow up, right? So there's pre-quote and there's post-quote follow up, right? So pre-quote follow up really doesn't count if someone calls you, right? Because if someone calls you, there's no such thing as a pre-quote follow-up because you're talking to them on the phone. But if someone fills out a one-step quote request form or a multi-step form on your site, how long are you taking to get back to them? That would be pre-quote. Post-quote is once you've given a quote, how are you following up? How many times are you following up? And are you sending a text, an email, a carrier pigeon? How are you following up with these potential clients? So I'm going to just show you guys kind of what I do and what I see working right now for my clients in this industry. So for pre-quote, what I recommend doing kind of depends on the kind of person you are. Are you the type of person who loves getting on the phone and closing sales, and you think of yourself as a closer and you enjoy nothing more than closing deals over the phone? Well, for you, your pre-quote might look like SMS, then call. Most of my clients aren't like that. Most of the operators I work with, they don't like getting on the phone. They don't want to deal with the people that are tire kickers and price shoppers. And so what most of my operator clients do is they just send an SMS right away as soon as someone requests a quote, and then they follow it up with another SMS with the quote. So this is actually the quote here, the call, the SMS. This is an automated text message. So that's what I recommend for your initial, when you initially contact the client. If they fill out a form, because really we're talking about forms here for pre-quote. If they fill out a form, I want them to know that, hey, we're going to get to you right away. Because I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, these guys take forever to get back to us. I requested a quote on their website, an hour has gone by, and look, I've already booked with someone because I can't wait. So what do we want to do? We want to make sure as soon as someone hits submit, we want to send them a text message. It can be really short. It can be 2 or 3 lines. Hi, prospect. This is Mark with Mark's Limos. Thanks for requesting a quote. Would you prefer that I give you a call or send you a text with the quote? That's a common automated text I send out. Now, for some of my clients who like to call, it'll say, hey, this is Mark with Mark's Limos. Thanks for requesting a quote. I've got a few more questions. I'm going to call you shortly from, and then you actually put the number that you're going to be calling from in the text message. That way they know to be looking for your phone call. So after that initial automated text goes out, I recommend actually sending the quote via SMS. I know a lot of you are still doing quotes via email, and look, that's fine. You can still email the quote if you want, but you need to do a follow-up SMS to make sure they got that quote. And to be honest, guys, I don't even see the point of doing email at all. Unless it's a complex quote, unless it's business to business, just stick with text messaging. If it is a complex quote, maybe you rent charter buses, motor coaches, and it's a $9,000 quote, you're not going to send that in a text message, right? So that's fine. For those, you can send an email with a quote, but make sure it's followed up with a text to say, hey, this is Mark with Mark's Limos, just confirming you got my email, because I can't tell you how much money is left on the table because there was no follow-up text message to confirm they got the email. Maybe the email went to junk, to spam, or maybe they're like me and they get 100 spam emails a day, and so they just get lost. That's the pre-quote. Now, for a phone call, if they call you, there's no pre-quote, right? Because you're on the phone with them, you give them the quote. Now, the post-quote is very, very important. The post-quote is after you've delivered the quote, are you going to just forget about them? Hey, if they come back, great. If they don't, well, wait a second. You're paying all this money for all these leads, and why aren't you following up with them? I get it, because you might get 20, 30, 40 quotes a day, and to follow up with every single one of those quotes could be a full-time job, right? Most of you are not following up with every quote. I've met very few operators who can do that consistently, and the great thing is you don't need to do that anymore, and you really shouldn't be doing it, but you need to automate your post-quote follow-up. So what does that look like? Well, once someone is quoted, you need to enter them into an automated follow-up sequence. There's a lot of softwares that do this. My app, the Limo Marketer app, does it, but there's lots of CRMs that do this sort of thing, and it's so valuable to do to set this up. And so once you've quoted them, you mark them as quoted, and then you put them into an automated follow-up sequence. So what does that look like? Well, it's different for a lot of my clients, but here's the gist of generally what we do. So after 4 hours, we send an SMS, and it's 2 lines. Hey, it's Mark with Mark's Limos, just checking in with you to see if you had any questions about the quote, right? Really what we're wanting to find out is, hey, are you looking to book? Hey, we're here. Hey, don't you want to work with us? That's really what we're doing with that text message. And you can also do an email. So a lot of times what I'll do, because some of my clients still get a decent number of landlines that fill their form out. So what I'll do is after 4 hours, I'll send a text, and then 15 minutes later, just for those that leave their landline, we'll do an email 15 minutes later. Why do I schedule those out like that? Just so it doesn't look as automated. With the SMS text, they don't know it's an automated text. They think maybe someone's actually sending them a text message, and especially if you address them by name and tell them who you are and the company you're with, there's a much higher chance they're going to respond, right? Because if you think it's a computer texting you, you don't care, right? It's annoying. But if it could be a real person, they said my name, they said their name, their company name, that might be a real person. There's a much higher likelihood they respond. I've actually found it's 60%, okay? If you just send an email follow-up, 20 to 25% will respond to an automated email follow-up. About 55 to 65% will respond to an automated SMS message, but you must address them by name, reveal who you are and who you're with. That's best practice. Okay, so now we set the software to say if they don't respond, if they don't call, if they don't email, if they don't text us back, then 2 days later, it could be 1 day. So let's just say 1 to 2 days, we are going to do another SMS. And then, we'll do 30 minutes later, so it just doesn't look like it's programmed out, another email, right? Only if they haven't responded to this initial one, right? That would look pretty stupid if we're like, hey, did you have any question about the quote? They responded, and then 2 days later, you send another text. Well, what do you send in the second text? You're assuming they haven't replied yet, right? Because they won't get the second text if they have replied. So you say something like, hey, this is Mark with Mark's Limos. Just wanted to follow up with you again to see if you had any questions or were interested in booking, okay? So on that second text, you can follow it up with, hey, never heard back. Do you have any interest in booking, or did you have any other questions? Saying something along those lines typically works pretty well, and many times that will boost the response rate to closer to 80%. So that means 4 out of 5 people, if you send them both texts, 4 out of 5 people will respond. Some people are pretty tech savvy and they're like, this is automated, I'm not going to respond. But a lot of people don't realize that. And then, now this is usually where it ends. So this is actually 4 different follow-ups, right? So we have one 4 hours later, then 15 minutes after that, then 2 days later, then 30 minutes after that. So they've gotten 4 follow-ups at this point and haven't responded. Some of my clients just leave it there, but I do have other clients that are like, hey, They requested a quote, they still haven't gotten back to us. Let's try one more time. And so what we'll do sometimes is in another 3 to 7 days, we do one final SMS and email. And in this one, we'll just say plus 30 again. We do an offer. Okay, so why do an offer? Well, they're probably not going to be buying from you, right? It's been, 5 to, or 4 to 9 days at this point. You haven't heard back from them. So why not offer them a discount? Say, hey, we'll offer you 10, 15% off if you are still interested. And just automate this. And look, the truth is, a lot of people, most people, if they haven't responded yet, they're not going to. But what if 1 out of every 15 or 20 says, hey, I'll take you up on that? Well, after thousands of leads, thousands of follow-ups, that's a lot of money you're looking at. So why not do an additional follow-up after 3 to 7 days? So this would be a total of 6 follow-ups. You typically at this point, 85 to 90% have responded. Some people aren't just going to respond at all. But the best part is, guess how much time you spent doing all of this? 0. Because all you did is mark that contact as quoted and you let the software do the rest. So anyways, guys, this is how you follow up if you're an operator. And this, it doesn't matter what you do. You could do stretch limos, party buses, charter buses, even if you just do airport sort of stuff. Granted, those people typically book right away, but some people don't. Some people may be planning a vacation 9 months out and you don't want them to forget about you. That's why this works so well. Is many people, they just go online, they start filling out forms, they start calling around, and they forget all the different people and companies they've called. And so you want to remind them, hey, I'm still here, we're still around. So anyways, guys, if you implement this, I guarantee you, if you close 20% of your leads, you will increase your close rate by 25 to 50%. That means if you close 1 in 5 leads, now you close 1 in 4 to 1 in 3 leads with having a solid pre-quote, meaning you get back with them right away, and post-quote, meaning you follow up until you get a yes or a no. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If it was helpful, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments, do you have any sort of follow-up set up? How do you handle your pre-quote and post-quote follow-up? Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week.